Well, if you've been shooting ARs long enough, you've seen that happen right there. Don't worry if you haven't seen it, eventually it will come upon you. But essentially what that distills down to is that there's a competition between the magazine and the rifle for the ammunition. You could draw the force diagram if you wanted, and you'd have a whole bunch of masses, a whole bunch of tensions, and some friction going on in there, and essentially what you've got is a fight over the ammunition. Well, there's a few things that you can do to mitigate that in the rifle on both the production side as well as how we handle the rifle. And one of the ways that I do that, for instance, is always run the charging handle. I almost never use this ping pong paddle here on the side. A lot of people will go to bolt lock and smack the side of the gun. That's just not something that I do. I almost always run the charging handle, and that usually fixes the problem. And the reason that is because if you look at the orientation of the bolt relative to the ammunition in the two positions, i.e. the bolt lock position and then with the charging handle pulled all the way to the rear, you end up with a little extra tension. And I've wanted to test that for some time, and I didn't have the equipment to do it, and then I realized a few days ago that I actually do have all the equipment to test it. So what I wanted to do in today's video is go back to the shop and show you guys exactly what it is that I mean as far as the difference between when the thing is set at the bolt lock position and when you pull the charging handle all the way to the rear. That little extra bit of travel compresses the spring a little bit more, and we're going to actually measure that here today. But first we're going to shoot this gun. So how we're going to test this is very simple. I've gone ahead and taken a lower receiver and clamped it in the vise. It's not going anywhere. And then I've got an upper receiver that is incomplete. Essentially, it's an upper with a bolt carrier group and a charging handle in it. No barrel nut. I can see the bolt face right there. We're going to lock this thing to the lock position, right like that. And then I'm going to take this force meter, and we're going to take two measurements on this thing. I'm going to push on that until it reaches the lock tension, which will manifest itself in the form of a click. Right like that. That's when it falls out. And then we're going to push on it further, taking a second reading until it reaches the back. And just before it reaches the back, before it bottoms out, we should get a second reading that should be higher in tension. I've got a GoPro right here that's going to take the readings. Let's get to it. So while we're waiting for all those measurements to be taken, I thought that we would hear from our sponsor, which is this guy right here. Yeah, I didn't feel like going out and getting a sponsor for today's video because it's more of a sciencey video, and because it's sciencey, it can be fairly repetitious, and it's already going to be long enough given that it's summertime. The best way that you can support the VSO Gun Channel right now is not to hand me money on something like Patreon or Subscribestar or something like that, but we do appreciate that if you want to do that. The best way is to go over to the VSO affiliates page, which there'll be a link in the description box down below for that, and purchase a product that you want that I stand behind. There are discount codes and affiliate links over there that are to products that I have tested myself, that I believe in, and I believe will serve you well. I use them on a day-to-day basis, and I think that you should get something for your money. And in the process, those generate commissions on the sale that point back to me. So I greatly appreciate it. Let's get back to the science. So as you guys could see, there is a little bit of a difference between the tension at the bolt lock position and the tension at the fully retracted position. And I'm not going to say that that's enough to give you 100% reliability, but it does give you a better chance of getting it in. That actually just came out of my mouth. But there is a bit of a balancing act that occurs between the rifle and the magazine. We want the magazine to be tight enough that it retains the ammunition, does not prematurely dispense that ammunition or erratically dispense that ammunition one round at a time when the rifle commands it to release one round. And a really good test that I use for that is to fully fill the magazine, drop it on the base plate, and if any rounds jump out of that magazine when it strikes the ground, then that is not a magazine we want to trust. To put that in terms of the gun, if the gun is hit off of something really hard, it can cause an air bubble in the magazine. Then those rounds can jump out of that magazine prematurely. Or if we have excessive carrier speed due to things like suppression, then we can have an instance where that carrier jostles the contents of the magazine. Even with this magazine light right here, I can see that? A partially emptied magazine, I can take it and shake it like that and just create enough of an air bubble where that round was able to fly out and smack me in the face. That can absolutely happen inside the gun as well, and that's why we want that balancing act to be properly balanced, if you will. So we want a lot of tension in the magazine. There are techniques that we can use to mitigate that, and the one that I use most frequently is to simply grab the charging handle, rip it to the rear, be somewhat violent with it, and you have a pretty good chance of seating it forward. So the argument then becomes, well, Kurt, why don't you just run the charging handle after you've hit the ping pong paddle and it doesn't go into battery? And the answer is time. So it takes a whole lot of extra time to press the ping pong paddle, then figure out, oh crap, it didn't go in, and then do that. The other answer, I suppose, that we could go with is we've pushed the button and it's like, well, we have a forward assist on the side of the gun. Again, we have to ascertain that malfunction, forward assist it to go in. That also takes time. In my opinion, the way to do it is to insert the magazine, rip the charging handle, and shoot. But your mileage may vary. Again, this was just kind of an informational video on why it is that I use the charging handle all the time, because I think that it skips a whole bunch of other steps that can potentially cause problems. And in my mind, I think that just going straight for the lever on the side of the gun that allows me to put the maximum tension into the loading sequence as possible, then I think that's just a good decision. I hope I did a good enough job on today's video that will be able to get you guys to come back here for another video here on the VSO Gun Channel. If you did find the video interesting and informative, please consider smashing that subscribe button down below, as well as the like and share button. It really does help out with the YouTube algorithm. And again, thanks for watching. And now I've got a full magazine of ammunition that I get to shoot because I allotted it for today's testing.